Hi you guys, it's me Shante and welcome back to Shake It Up with Shante. If you've been here before, welcome back. As always, thank you. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome, and thank you guys as well. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my way and a little bit of my grandmother's way of how I make her traditional Brunswick stew. It's an old recipe of hers, but of course I had to tweak it a little bit as the years go by. So without further ado, let's shake something up. First things first, this is a long process. So first thing first, Boston butt roast. This is what my grandmother traditionally used along with some chicken breast. So this is the first thing. And she normally cook hers just in a pot on top of the stove, but I like to do mine in my crock pot. So this Brunswick stew is a 6-pound pork roast. It uses a 6-pound pork roast, and this is a Boston butt pork roast, and it was $7.50 at my local grocery. So the first thing I'm gonna do is open this and clean it up. However you wash your meat, whatever you do, that's what you do. I'm just gonna go to the sink and wash mine how I normally do. I'll be right back. All right, so the first thing first, we're gonna put this in a crock pot. Already cleaned it and rinsed it, washed it off. So you don't have to really cook your meat in a crock pot. You can cook it on top of the stove. So I'm gonna put, with this 6-pound Boston butt roast, I'm gonna put about 3 cups of water in here. The only season I'm gonna add to this is some salt. Now this is a pork roast. It actually took me about 4 cups of water. I did it halfway to the meat. So I'm gonna let this cook in the crock pot for 4 hours on high. Now, if you don't have a crock pot, you don't have to do it in the crock pot. You can just cook it on top of the stove on a medium high for probably about 2.5 to 3 hours. But I'm gonna set this for 4 hours and let this cook on high, and we'll just go from there. All right, y'all. So y'all know I put the Boston butt roast on for the Brunswick stew. Yesterday. Today's the next day. So it took me a total to cook that 6-pound Boston butt roast. It took me actually 6 hours instead of 4. I came back to check it at about 3.5 hours, and it still wasn't as tender as I like it. So I put it on for about 2 more hours, and so then it was where I like it. So I want it to be kind of soft because you have to shred it, but I didn't want it to overcook. So 6 hours, and actually after the 4 hours I cut it down on low instead of high, so it could just cook, you know, kind of slowly the rest of the way. So it did tenderize like I like it. All right, so the next thing we had to do was boil some chicken. So I use chicken breast. The way my grandmother taught me is to use the chicken breast. So I've already done that. Let me show you guys. I had 4 chicken breasts, not boneless. I like the bone in and the skin on because we'll be using some of that broth. So skin on, bone in, and this is 4 regular chicken breasts, just 4 chicken breasts. All right, so from that point, let me show you guys what else you're gonna need. So you're gonna need, now let me tell you what my grandmother used, the basic. She used Louisiana, she used Worcestershire sauce, she used ketchup, she did use corn, and she do the diced tomatoes. All the rest of the stuff I added, y'all. So I had to tweak it kind of my way to my liking. Don't get me wrong, I love her Brunswick stew, and everybody in the family loved it, but I tweaked mine a little bit. So I'm gonna add some parsley, some complete, of course, some brown sugar, some barbecue sauce, some chopped onions, and some chopped garlic. And I may put a little salt in it depending on, you know, where I'm at as far as taste goes, because it's something you have to taste. So let me start by right now, and I'm just gonna push all of this out the way, and I'm gonna start with my pork roast. This is the pork roast that I cooked in a crock pot yesterday. Okay, so I took it out last night, and I just sat it in the refrigerator, covered it up, and just let it sit there so it can become, just give me enough texture and cold enough so that I can shred it. And I'm going to shred it with my hands. I'm not going to chop it up with a knife or fork or anything. I'm going to shred it, and I'm going to do this whole thing. I took out the bone out of it, and then I'm going to do my chicken next. My chicken, I boiled that probably about 2 hours ago because I didn't want it to be hot and soft. I wanted it to kind of stiffen up to so that I can start cooking them together. So I'm just gonna start shredding up my Boston butt roast first. All right, y'all, this is all of my shredded roast, and I'm gonna move on to the chicken and shred that next. Ooh, goodness. Now with this, y'all, with this chicken, I'm taking the bone and the skin off of it. I just want the chicken. I like to cook it with the skin and the bone because I wanted the broth. So, but I'm removing all of that. Make sure y'all get all of the bone out of your chicken breast. And if you want to use boneless chicken breast, you can, but I feel like there's more flavor in the broth because I will be using some of that broth from the chicken for this stew. So I feel like the bone and the skin give it more flavor in your broth. Your broth is more flavorful with the skin on and the bone. But you can always use chicken breast, just boneless, skinless chicken breast. All right, so this is my chicken shredded up. Now, let's recap. What I did was crock pot my Boston butt roast, 6 pounds, for 6 hours. So I did that for 6 hours, 4 on high, 2 on low. Then I boiled 4 chicken breasts with skin on and bone in. I boiled 4 chicken breasts. I let them cool overnight. Well, the Boston butt roast I did. The chicken I did only about 2 hours ago. All right, so I'm going to use this pot here. This is the same pot I boiled my chicken in. I'm going to use this pot here because I wanted a kind of big pot. And this is a big stock pot. I can't even tell you guys how many quarts. I think it's like an 8 quart. But this is what I'll be using. All right, so I'm going to go ahead right now. Before I even turn the fire on, I'm going to go ahead and put my shredded roast in here. Make sure, I'm just going through, just make sure there's no, I actually took the fat off too, as much as possible on my roast. I took out as much fat as I possibly could. Okay, now I'm going to add my chicken in here. Okay, this is 4 huge chicken breasts. Gonna add that in here. Back when my grandmother used to make this, she didn't call it Brunswick stew, but I didn't find out till years later that it was actually called Brunswick stew. You know, y'all know what we used to call this? Burma stew. Yeah, that's what my grandma called it and everybody else called it. When it's time like, you gonna make some Burma stew? But it's actually Brunswick stew. And I didn't find that out until I got older, the actual name for it, and you know, how to pronounce it correctly. So I'm gonna put in my Burma stew. I'm gonna go ahead and add my 3 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes with the broth in there. Get everything in there. You don't strain it. Go ahead and add those 3. Okay, and I will be adding some of that chicken broth from the chicken. I'm gonna add my 2 cans of whole corn, but I'm gonna strain them. I don't want the corn juice. We're gonna strain the corn. Right, so I'm gonna add my 2 cans of corn. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my Worcestershire sauce, and I'm gonna add probably about this is the good kind, y'all, so I probably add about 1/3 of a cup. Let me take the top off. Maybe 1/3, maybe 1/4, not for sure, somewhere along in there. I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup of ketchup. All right, I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup of this Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce to this. Okay. I'm going to add some Louisiana hot sauce. My grandma didn't skip on this now. She was like, it only got to be Louisiana. It couldn't be no other brand but Louisiana. And I'm going to put about a third of a cup. Now, if you want to substitute this and use peppers, I'm pretty sure you can. I'm just kind of following what my grandmother did. And I make this every year. I'm going to put some chopped garlic, which is something she didn't do, but I will be adding to mine. I'm also going to add some chopped onion. She didn't put onion in hers at all, fresh onion or anything. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of that in there. And then I'm going to add some complete. Y'all know I got to add it because I like it, so I'm going to add it. Add a little bit of parsley in here, just for the color. Let me take this top off. All right. Now, I'm going to add about a little sugar. Let me see. Y'all know you got to add some sugar if you put that ketchup and tomato sauce. Just add a little sugar, not too much. I think I'm going to use maybe about a third of a cup of sugar. And this is brown sugar. You can use white sugar too. I just think brown sugar make it, I just want mine a little darken up. So I'm going to turn this on right now. I'm going to turn it on low. I'm turning it on very low because I'm going to let this simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour covered. I'm going to go over here and let me get my measuring cup. I'm going to see how many cups of chicken broth I need to add to this. And this is my chicken broth from my chicken. I strained it and I put it in this bowl. I'm going to see how many cups I'm going to need. I'm glad it made this much, bro. 7 cups. I'm going to stop right there at 7 cups. Because I don't want it to cover. I don't want this to be a soup. So I don't want it to be soupy. I don't want it to be too soupy. So I'm going to stop right there. Okay. And I'm going to cover this. And I'm just going to let this simmer on low. Very low. Now I could have put this in a crock pot. I could have put this back in the crock pot and let it cook for some more hours. I could have done that, but I didn't want to, so I wanted to cook on top of the stove. All right, so I'm gonna cover this, let this simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour, but I'll be back in about 30 minutes to let y'all just see how it all has come together. All right, we'll be back in about 30 minutes. All right, y'all, so it's been about 40 minutes since I put my Brunswick stew on, and I just want y'all to see all of this goodness. Look at that. All of this goodness. And I'm going to still give it about 20 more minutes, but I just want y'all to see where I'm at. And I did go back and I did add extra seasonings. I tasted it and needed a little bit more. So everything I added, I doubled it, basically. I doubled everything except the sugar. I doubled everything except the sugar. And I did add 2 tomato bouillon cubes. I did do that. So I doubled everything else, all of the seasonings. I did do that, and that's it. So I still have it on low simmering, and this is where we are right now. It smells so good, y'all. When I tell y'all, this reminds me of my grandmother's kitchen, and I know when I get that smell right, I know I'm there. So I smell it. I smell the smell that I used to smell in my grandmother's kitchen years ago when she would make her what she called Burma stew. So I'm going to give this about 20 more minutes. I have some cornbread in the oven, you guys, and we'll be ready to taste this thing. All right, you guys. My Brunswick stew is completely done. I let it cook for probably about an hour and 15 minutes. So it can get really, you see how really shreddy it is now? At first it wasn't like that, but see, the longer you cook, the better. And all of my seasonings marinated in there all very well, and it tastes extremely good. So yeah, it's been done now probably for about 10 minutes, but I'm still gonna try it. And this is the consistency I like it to be. Not too wet, just, you know, moist and meaty. Just like this. And then I have some cornbread here on the side. My good tasting cornbread. It might not look pretty, but trust me, it's good, y'all. But let me put some of this in a bowl really quickly, because we gotta taste this. I gotta taste this for y'all. Show y'all how it tastes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Woo! My son already called y'all. Like, Mom, you through? So, because he wants some. So, guess he gonna come and get it. And I'm gonna put me a piece of cornbread on my plate. All right, y'all. So, I got my stew, my Brunswick stew. And I have my cornbread here. When I tell y'all, this smells just like when my grandmother used to make this. Oh my goodness, y'all. I can't wait. I couldn't wait until that cornbread got done so I could eat this together. You can't eat this without cornbread. Oh my goodness. It tastes just like my grandma. I ain't even gonna lie. Just got a tad bit more seasoning. Because y'all know back then, they were only using salt, pepper, maybe some seasoned salt. But that was it. Boy, oh boy. When my auntie get off work tonight, she gonna be calling me about this. Look, y'all, I made a big pot. Look at this pot. Look at this pot. This is a huge pot. Like this, and you can freeze this too. You can put it in you some freezer bags. You can freeze it. I've made it before and freezed it. Cornbread, just you put your cornbread on the side right there, so you can just get you a little piece and scoop it up with your stew like that. Oh my goodness. You can also, if you want to, you don't have to cook as much as I did. You can buy you a smaller Boston butt roast, like maybe a 3-pounder or a 4-pounder. You can get you a couple of chicken breasts so you won't have as much. You can freeze this. You can also make you a little pot of rice and just have it on the side with it. I wouldn't put nothing with mine, but you can put you some rice with it. If you want to use turkey, like if you do a turkey for Thanksgiving and you want to use turkey instead of the chicken or instead of the roast, you can use that. You can use you can take a whole turkey, shred it up, and do the exact same thing. So, and also you can chop up some onions very, very fine to go in here, bell peppers if you want to. You know, this is a very versatile dish and everything that I use is substitutable. I say that all the time because it is. You have to make it to your liking. I'm pretty sure, rest in heaven, my grandmother, I'm pretty sure she don't mind me upping her recipe. I still use the exact same ingredients she did, but I just enhanced it a little bit. So I'm pretty sure she's smiling down on me and she's very proud of me to make this. So, you know, you can tweak this as much as you like or how you like, you know what I'm saying, to make it to your liking. So I made it to my liking. Not that I didn't like hers, I just upped the antics a little bit. And I tell y'all, this is so good. This is so good. Oh my goodness. Whew, my body already hot on the inside. If you cold, and it's not cold here, but, and I don't know if I'm gonna have some left. If a little bit be left to freeze, I will freeze it because one of them cold nights, I'm gonna be eating this. And y'all, very simple to make. The longest part about this is letting your Boston butt roast cook in a crock pot. Now, you can also, because my grandmother didn't let hers cook in a crock pot. She did her total everything on top of the stove. So you can boil your Boston butt roast for, you know, a few hours on top of the stove till it gets tender, just enough for you to shred, you know. You can do everything on top of the stove. I just used the crock pot because it was late last night when I started it. So I just let it cook overnight. So, it was easier for me. And if you want to make this a little spicy, because the hot sauce, Louisiana hot sauce, doesn't make it spicy. It just give it that hot sauce flavor like it's hot, but it's really not hot. And I did add a couple of pepper flakes to it to give it a little kick, but it's still not spicy. So, you know, I'm gonna enjoy this, you guys. I'm really gonna enjoy this. I hope you guys learned a little bit from this, how to make my grandmama Burma stew, which is Brunswick stew, to you guys and to me now. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Please like this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so every time I upload one of these easy peasy simple recipes, you'll be notified. Until that next video, thank you guys so much. Love you. See you then.